We're just going to slam the door. Gadunk. I'm in the most impressive, I don't know, what is it? It's like a meeting room, I suppose, that I've ever been in. Have you been in this hotel?
It's the Rysen in Gamla Stan. Yes, I've been there, but I don't think I've been exactly in that exactly location. I wish I was there with you physically.
I'm like, wow, this place is very smart. Anyway,
very special.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Nice that you know that you are in a room that sets the mood for our interview. I would like to, like I said, I would like to be there physically with you, but I have some other commitments today. But here we are, finding time for each other.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Welcome to Stockholm, and thank you for the interview. Since we have a little bit of limited time, we can just get into the interview. Sure. First of all, Mārama is beautifully shot. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I love the looks, the photography, the mood, and the whole world you created there. It's not just, New Yorkshire in England. It's your own world that you created there. So fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, my first question is, why did you choose to expose the topic that you did, this chapter in the history of New Zealand, but more especially of the Maori people, and make it a horror movie? Perhaps it's been taken up by other directors or other art creators, but you took it into a horror movie with a special, twist of elements, spiritualism, mediumnicity, and other stuff that we see. It's unique.
Thank you. I think it is unique, actually, because I don't think I've ever seen a Mauri Gothic horror before. And I've watched a lot of Maori films, and some of them are very beautiful, and some of them are very violent. Yeah. Some of them might even be horror, but I don't think I had ever seen a film about a Maori protagonist who, if you like, a colonized Maori person, in this case, a wahine Maori, a young Maori woman, Mary, who takes the fight to the colonizers and goes the other way, right? So I wanted to tell this story about a colonized person, yes, standing up to, taking on, fighting, and ultimately defeating the colonizers on their territory. So she goes to England. It's 1859. I researched it. It's not unrealistic. It happened. Maori traveled from New Zealand to the UK and all around Europe, actually. Austria, France, I don't know about Sweden, but in the 1800s, the Maori traveled a lot. But I hadn't seen that story told before. And in answer to your question, sorry, why a horror? To be honest, when I first started researching the story, I wasn't intending to write a horror. I didn't think it would be a horror. But the more I researched it, and the more I researched and understood the history of the colonization of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and the way the Maori were treated and the appropriation of culture that occurred, the more it became a horror film to me, or a horror script.
Yeah.
And it shifted from being, a heavy drama to a horror. And it's interesting because that discussion comes up quite a bit. Some people think it's not a horror, but I don't really care. I think it is a horror. So for me, it is a horror. And I've always said just before we started shooting the film, I was very clear with everyone. We are making a Mauri Gothic horror. It's the first time it's been done. We're creating a new subgenre within a genre. I mean, horror is a huge genre anyway, right? It's a broad church. So there's a lot of space. And Gothic horror is a bit more specific, but it's also big. But we've gone Mauri Gothic horror, and we're the first. So I like that. And I like that, hopefully, like you say, I hope it is unique, and I hope people find something new and fresh about this film.
Yeah, I did find something fresh and new, and also I found something that is kind of adjacent to so many of us. I'm Mexican originally, so I found so many things that resonated with chapters in the Mexican history as well. And obviously, probably we had our indigenous people, and then Spanish came, and then something very similar developed, unfolded in our grounds as well. So I could feel like I sort of noticed you use a lot of symbolisms and so many metaphors, and I was like, I get that, I get that, I get that.
Well, I really do hope that, obviously, I'm especially interested in what my relatives and friends in New Zealand think of the film, and it releases next February in New Zealand, and especially the Maori audience. I mean, I really wanted to hit with the Maori audience, but let's see. At least if I can provoke this discussion or conversation, I think that would be a win. But I was going to say, I actually am very happy. I would be very happy if it spreads and if it can, what's the word? If it, not appeal, but if it can just resonate with indigenous populations all around the world. Because of course the Maori experience of being colonized, it's not unique. It happened all around the world. Empire was, cultures were raided, and indigenous people were killed or colonized all around the world. So I actually very much hope it finds a global audience. We had our world premiere at Toronto in September, a few months ago. And it was noticeable that obviously there's a lot of First Nation Canadians were there, and there's a good representation of Indigenous film at TIFF, at Toronto International Film Festival. And it was noticeable, the questions coming from the audience, and a lot of appreciation, but also just people just going, yeah, I understand this. I've never been to New Zealand. I didn't know about Maori, but I understand it because. So thank you for saying that anyway. Yeah, thank you.
Great. It's exactly what I experienced. Exactly that. Yeah, I also feel like, I understand that. And it's also, it was very interesting to see how you took on that subject. Like I said, it is based in New Zealand with the Maori people, but also it has a resonance in so many places in the world, even though if it's, it was probably not the best chapters in history, but it's true, and it's better that someone takes open.
But to look at one of the more positive aspects of the film, I hope, in Māori we call it a whakatauki, which means like a proverb, the saying. Ka mua ka muri is used a lot of times. It becomes a kind of a central theme to the film. I don't know if you noticed that, but they say that she says the words ka mua ka muri many times, and it means literally walking backwards into the future. And this is, again, it's not a unique principle to the Maori. It's a very common indigenous principle that you need to know about who you are before you can build a future for yourself. It's quite straightforward. So I think that's hopefully one of the positive outtakes. It's just about encouraging maybe indigenous peoples, especially with regards to this film and its content, to know themselves, or to try and get to know themselves, because with knowledge comes confidence and hopefully a better future, if that doesn't sound too wishy-washy, you know what I mean? It's but walking backwards into the future it's not unique to the Maori by any means. It's a very global indigenous concept, and one that I like that. It's kind of how I made the film. I wrote it over about 5 years. And I was walking backwards into my future while I was writing the film, because I was having to research it. I've lived most of my life in England. My father was English, my mother was Maori. I was born in New Zealand, but I've lived most of my life in England. So I had to learn about these things, and it was a privilege to kind of walk backwards, looking at my past, finding out about the history to try and tell this story. Yeah.
And to not let it lose in history, and not lose sight of the origins, the roots.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love these metaphors that you use, like this one, walking backwards into future. But you also use a lot of symbolisms during the film. You use elements such as the whale, the house, or the little hut. I don't know the exact name in Maori, but you also, for example, heads, faces, masks. Can you talk to us about these elements you used?
Well, I mean, they're more than elements, to be honest. They're what the Maori word for them is taonga, and all that means really is treasures. I mean, let's start with the head, I suppose. The head is the most sacred part of the body in Maori culture. You wouldn't touch anyone's head. It's sacred. And before colonization, when the Maori lived amongst Maori only in Aotearoa, New Zealand for some 500 years probably before the first colonizers came to Aotearoa, or what's now called New Zealand. Before then, it was a perfectly acceptable tradition and cultural practice to keep the head and preserve it of leaders, of priests, of important chiefs, of warriors, and revere that head, respect that head. And they would place them, they would wrap them, or build boxes for them, the heads, and bring them out, literally on the birthday as a celebration, and as a sign of respect. And so these heads were kept by many different tribes. I mean, not hundreds of them, but definitely it wasn't uncommon for a head to be revered and kept and preserved, not shrunken like in the Amazons. It's not about reducing the size. They just preserved the head and kept it as best they could, especially the heads of chiefs or warriors who had a lot of facial tattoos. And the facial tattoos was mainly people who were important and or significant enough to be able to take the time to lie down and be tattooed, of course. Not all Maoris have facial tattoos because it takes a long time and you can't work when you're being tattooed. So only really chiefs or warriors or leaders or priests. Anyway, these tattooed heads were kept. And of course, the first thing that colonizers, when they first found out about the heads, they wanted them. They wanted to keep them. They wanted to appropriate them and have one for themselves. And, Maori was, no, of course not. Until the gun was offered. And suddenly there was this arms race between different tribes. Who can get the gun the first? Who can be first to get a gun? Because a culture that's based on hand-to-hand combat and that was very finely balanced between tribes, very, finely balanced, suddenly went like that. When one tribe had guns and another tribe didn't, it was a massacre. So every tribe had to access guns. This is a period of history called the musket wars, literally, between tribes. It was about which tribe has the gun, which tribe doesn't, how do we get guns? And there was a horrible period over a couple of years before it was outlawed by the government, the colonizing government, when there was an exchange rate, if you like, of one gun for one head. So they would trade a gun and get a head. And then that tribe had a gun. And then, of course, you're in a horrific situation where tribes are having to give up their treasures, their taonga, or worse still, where they're having to actually create heads using slaves. Tattoo a slave, kill the slave, take the head off, preserve it, and trade for guns. So, sorry, I'm just telling a long story, perhaps, around one element, one horrific element of colonization that worked its way into the film, as you know. But it wasn't based on nothing. It was based on the fact that Victorian collectors, and they were notoriously, Victorian, especially the British, were horrific collectors. They wanted everything. They were like, I want this, I want that, I want your special, I want your poem, give it to me. I want your heads. And they would collect these things. And the house that you mentioned, the small Maori, the carved wooden house, is based on a wooden house that was bought by an English governor in the 1870s or 80s, I think, in New Zealand, dismantled, shipped to England, and resurrected in his garden. It's still standing in his garden today, because he thought it would look good. It's like another souvenir, maybe. So you're right, these objects, these taonga, for me, when I saw one particular, it's a photo of one of the most notorious Victorian collectors called H.R. Robley, I think his name is. And he's standing proudly, having his photo taken. And on the wall behind him is his collection of Maori tattooed heads. And I was just like, this was horrific. But maybe that's when my drama became a horror. I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, researching those things and researching the history of the colonization of New Zealand was pretty shocking and brutal. And led to me including the elements that I could. You mentioned the whale as well. Well, for me, that was coming up with a character, Sir Nathaniel Cole. Who is this guy? Okay, who were the people that were making a lot of money in the 1810s, 1820s? And it was whalers. It was the men that had access to, or had the the kind of character that allowed them to get men out, getting whales, and bringing it back, and then selling the very valuable, I'm doing this because it's in the back of the whale's head normally, the very extremely valuable oil, which was used, it gave the best light, it was being used in the industrialization of England, it was extremely valuable. It's kind of like a gold rush, but for whales.
Yeah.
And the whales were a sacred animal to the Maori people. And, you know, and here's this guy that talks about harvesting the oceans. It's like, there was, when Mārama's looking at the picture when Mary, as she still is at that stage, is looking around this office and there's a whale jaw and pictures of the whale being slaughtered, she's horrified.
Yeah.
It's horrific to her, but that someone would celebrate that. But anyway, that's who Cole was. And I imagined him as an extremely wealthy man, but also someone, he wasn't stupid and he had a bit of taste, you know, so he had the cultural sense, yes, to grab things that were Maori. He was obsessed with Maori, but also to buy nice paintings, you know, of the time. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to talk, but.
Yeah, to me, the whale symbolized a little bit. You know, I think everybody can make their own translations of different symbols that you use. To me, the whale also signified the Maori people, and how there was a man sort of like taking something that is sacred, sort of just stabbing it like it's the ground, like they're just digging a hole in the ground. And I
mean, that process that he's going through is called flens. I don't know if you know about whaling, but it's called flensing. And when we went to the wide shot, I researched this. What they would do is strip the blubber, the outer side of the whale. They'd strip it down, cut it off, take it away, and then reduce it down. That was quite useful for them, the blubber. But the most valuable part of a whale was definitely the oil in the back of its head. That became I think they call it sperm oil, I think they call it, but it was extremely valuable. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It could be seen as a visual metaphor for the Maori population of New Zealand that was just being decimated and cut down. It's true.
And there were also some other symbolisms that I found very interesting. The revolving house, that got me very intrigued.
Yeah.
Why? Where does it come from?
Well, again, Victorians, you know, they're interesting people.
Yeah.
Not all of them are monsters. They created some amazing art. But anyway, sorry, in terms of the Victorian time, that came from the Victorian, it's called a writing hut. So it's where authors would go out into their garden and sit down at their desk in a small hut. And yeah, I had to tell the production designer about this. He was like, what are you talking about? A house that moves around? So yes, it's not a house, it's a small hut. It usually has a window, it's in a garden, and it is on a revolving circle so that it can follow the sun. So as the sun tracks across the garden, if the writer wants to be in the sun, or the opposite, it can avoid the sun. As the sun tracks, you can move the house. I say house, sorry. I mean, it's like literally a desk, a chair, a window. You know, it's more like a small box.
Yeah.
But it definitely existed in Victorian times. It became known as a writing hut. Then it became a fashionable thing to have as a sun hut, and then people would take the desk out, take the wall off, and you could just sit in the hut, but as the sun moves, you could just revolve and change the position of the house. So you're always in the sun. Anyway, I knew I wanted to use that just because it was a Victorian thing, and I love the idea of there being a barrier of the hedge between the big house and the Maori house. And I thought that it would be a nice symbolic thing to have, you know, thinking about walking backwards into the future, to have this hut, literally a small hut that just revolved and revealed the house.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wrote in the script, there's a big hedge, it's big, there's a small hut, she sits down, she pushes around, and then bang, there's the house. Then when we went to the location that my production designer found for me, and he showed me this beautiful circular hedge space. It's actually, it's a croquet lawn. You know, they play croquet there. The lawn was very, very smooth and beautiful, and it's just for playing. You know croquet?
No, not really.
It's like a garden sport. It's not golf, but it's a bit like, and it's kind of like you have this quite heavy, solid balls and a mallet, they call it, and you knock it, and the ball, it needs a very smooth grass. So anyway, when we saw the space, there's this circular croquet lawn, this incredible circular shaped hedge and a small entrance. And I looked at Nick, I was like, this is perfect. I would never have imagined this, but this is even better. We put the house in there. And he said, in there on the croquet lawn, are you crazy? So we had to persuade but anyway, we persuaded them. We were very careful with the lawn. We put it back the way it was, but it was better than I imagined, because I just imagined one hedge with a gap and a revolving house. But in fact, I had this beautiful circular hedge with a gap, and it was like perfect. It encompasses everything. It's like this perfect hedge that is imprisoning the tiny Maori house that has been purchased, dismantled, and brought from the other side of the world and erected there.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like the ultimate possessing.
Yes.
That's what appealed to me about the visual. So yeah, when I saw that location, I was like, this is perfect. But can we put the house there? Anyway, we negotiated it.
Now that you explain all this, it also gets me thinking. To me, a house means the person, means your own mind, your own head. Do we have some?
I think, do you need to come off?
I think she needed to go. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't mind. I can keep talking. Are you okay for time?
Yeah, we can just come to a closer. Yeah, I just want to tell you what it came to mind. The house meaning ahead, meaning your own, where your mind is. And it also connects to the fact when she says, you might be inside me, but I will never be yours. You might be in my head, in my memory and everything you did, but I will never belong to you. And the head being the house, and then the circle being a box, like you just said, that they used to preserve these heads, make beautiful boxes to preserve them, keep them, and then opening these boxes in special occasions, and then displaying the head. It just fits. Even it's a full circle in terms of meanings and symbolisms.
Well, and thank you, and literally a full circle, but also those houses, like I think the little girl who plays Anne explains to Mary at one stage, she says, every house represents an ancestor, and I've decided this house represents a lady ancestor, because she's a 9-year-old girl. She's like, it's a lady ancestor. And in fact, that house is all about the lady ancestors. It's where Hinamoana was killed. It's where the grandmother was killed, Aurarangi was killed. So it has a horrific identity as a female, yes, but the little girl doesn't know that. She's just sort of talking and showing off maybe a bit to Mary, but those houses always represented an ancestor. They would be named after an ancestor, mostly men, but I love the idea that young Anne says, I've decided this house represents a lady ancestor. It's like, yeah, it really does. It's had its horrific history, but anyway. And Mary, the idea is that when she swings into position and looks up, Mary knows, well, first of all, it's weird seeing a Maori house in an English country garden, but I think there's more than that. I think she instinctively knows there's something very wrong with that house. Yeah. She's matikite, she's a seer. She can feel immediately something bad happened in that house. Yeah. And of course, as she approaches it, and she has the vision and faints. But anyway, you've seen the film. Sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you.
Because probably the people who's going to see this interview, they will not seen the film, and this will be very interesting for them to come and see the film and perhaps find out more or get a little bit more from our own interpretations.
I don't need to do spoiler alert though.
No, we're not really spoiling. We don't really say what happens in the end.
Okay.
Well, our time is up. Thank you so much. We could sit here and continue talking all afternoon, but you also have more media to attend. I'm very thankful for the time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time. Do I need to? I'm just hanging up here, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, how do I say goodbye in Swedish?
Hej då.
Oh, I thought that was hello.
Hej. Hej is hello. Hej då is goodbye.
Okay. Well then, tack. Hej då.
Tack. Hej då.